Welcome back. Thank you for staying with the Hot 7 Nightly News. Another public sector union has concluded negotiations. What does this mean for the other public sector unions as they hold firm to their proposal demands? According to Chairman of the Government Negotiating Team, Vern Gill, in the past, concluded negotiations have greatly influenced those that still remain on the table. Solange Alfred reports.
Another public sector association negotiation has been finalized. The hard-working men and women of the Nurses Association can breathe a sigh of relief with the recent conclusion between the Trade Union Federation and Government Negotiating Team. Chairman of the GNT, Vern Gill, says the cordial nature of the proceedings left all parties involved feeling a sense of fairness with the recent conclusion.
The process was by and large fairly amicable, and whilst we had our moments at the table, it was generally done in good faith. And so the collective agreement that we've signed for the period 2016 to 2022 reflects that agreement. My view is that what was presented and what was accepted by the nurses after negotiation is fair and takes into consideration the prevailing conditions of the state of the economy at this time.
As to the specifics of the negotiations, Gill says the Nurses Association outlined a need for increases and additional fringe benefits. In addition to a lump sum payment, he highlights a 1% increase in salary for the period 1st April 2019 to 31st March 2020 was also granted.
There were some allowances that nurses are entitled to already, that increases were requested, and some consideration was given to that. There was some additional benefit provided to them in relation to health insurance. And in relation to the salary aspect of it, what was presented and accepted was similar to that with the police. So they accepted a lump sum payment of $1,500 for the period 1st of April 2016 to 31st of March 2019.
With more associations concluding negotiations with the GNT, arguments have been mounted by associations with negotiations still on the table, stating in some way the conclusions hamper their request proposals still before the GNT.
I wouldn't say that it hampers them. There is some precedent where earlier settlements have influenced the final outcome of all the other settlements, but the remaining trade unions that are dealing with salaries under the banner of the Trade Union Federation have in fact met with us and made their own presentation to us. We are now due to respond to them, and we hope to be doing so shortly. And we will engage as best as possible to see how we can achieve a conclusion to those negotiations.
Among those public sector associations that remain in the clutches of negotiations with the GNT are Teachers Association, Correctional Service Welfare, and Medical and Dental Association. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Solange Alfred.
The mayor of Castries, Peterson Francis, has renewed calls for the proper disposal of fatty waste. Mayor Francis, in highlighting the magnitude of the problem, explained that the improper disposal of fat clogs the drains within the city. He said that waste fats, which are quite visible from some restaurants, create problems for an already compromised city drainage system. According to him, there have been many complaints ranging from blockage of the drains to the stench coming from those very drains. Therefore, the mayor has put food establishments on notice that he will use the law to ensure that the practice does not continue. A longtime carnival costume designer is feeling certain that a change in the judging processes for carnival events will result in different bands and costumes coming out on top. Giovanni St. Thomas says there is a need for separate groups of judges for the different facets of carnival, rather than the one-size-fits-all type of process which fosters years of bias and unfairness.
Giovanni St. Omer has been a carnival costume designer for over 30 years and has seen it all where the season is concerned. It is with this vast knowledge that he is now asking for there to be more variety and fairness in the industry in relation to the judging aspect. St. Omer sat with Hot 7 News, where he explained that the judging events have deteriorated for some time now. He said the process has changed over the years and is not for the better.
In the old days, in the 80s and 90s, the judging was different. The judging was different because we had very objective individuals doing our judging. Of late, we find that there are individuals who have personal attachments to specific individuals or specific bands, and that's not positive. That's something that should have been addressed years ago.
St. Omer said the lack of variety is an even bigger issue.
There's supposed to be a different set of judges for the road, a different set of judges for the night of the show, a different set of judges for every specific competition. In that way, you isolate who the champion of carnival is. When you have the same judges, which is what we've been doing for the past, must be 6-7 years, we have the same individuals judging King Queen of the Bands, same people judging Band of the Year. There must be a bias. There must be a bias because in every country, Trinidad, in all countries, Brazil, they make it their duty to stay away from a particular individual judging another event that is assigned to that specific band or that specific presentation of bands. So in other words, we have to get a larger judging pool, first and foremost, that will allow for the separation of individuals at each judging.
Another important aspect which the designer said is being constantly overlooked is the understanding of criteria.
The criteria, a lot of individuals have to understand. I don't know if when they go to these workshops, they really understand the documentation that's presented in front of them. Because presentation of theme, creativity, it is so obvious that you need individuals who understand the documents and the criteria by the letter and not by, okay, I like this band, and I'm going to say this is this or that is that. No, we need people who can qualify to say, I appreciate this, I understand this, and could have a proper judgment, could make proper judgment on a band. But the thing is, we are a small country, like many others, and people have their personal preferences. So the only way to eliminate that bias is by having different individuals judge different events. When you have different individuals judge different events and the same result comes, then you know that band or that individual or is deserving.
St. Omer said, if the dynamic is changed this year and a different band or costume from the usual suspects is chosen as the winner, then it will be evident that the process was indeed flawed. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I'm Rochelle Gonzalez.
A repeated call to St. Lucians from the world of local entertainment is once again being made, asking locals to show more support to local artists. With the carnival season officially opened, artists have been working overtime to showcase their latest material. One such calypsonian is Solange Stanislas, who, back from her one-year hiatus, said she's ready and revving to hit the stage once again. In 2017, Solange Stanislas placed second in the Calypso finals with a great divide, and that's a Lucian thing. This week, she told Hot 7 News the effort made by the government of St. Lucia, who is injecting more funds and attention to the season, is a good thing. However, the show of support should come from the populace as well.
I encourage the government, yes, to do their part in ensuring that they sustain the industry, but most importantly, I encourage St. Lucians to come out and support from just a micro level, because at the end of the day, if the tents are empty or if the stands are empty, the art form is in question. I encourage the St. Lucian audience to come out in large numbers to support all of the artists, all of the artisans as well, those who are, selling drinks, those who are creating huge costumes, those who are on the stage singing and sending out messages to the audience. So yes, from a macro level, it's important, but from a micro level, even more important. So on a government level, we thank the government for being able to balance the whole fiscal budget and ensuring that there is money coming into Carnival. But again, as we see the trickle effect of the economy, it's always down to the dollar.
On the flip side, Stanislas said there are other ways in which support can be shown.
It's important that people realize that their contribution is not necessarily validated through a monetary, return. I know that we make investments in, writers and, arrangers and everything. But most importantly, it's about the contribution to our cultural landscape. So it's a balance between the three: government, support, as well as individual participation and the community support as well. So yeah, when it comes to that, thanking the government, but also calling on the public as well as those who are going to be participating to make it a very wholesome experience.
The artist went on to say that this season will be interesting as it is always evolving. She applauded the efforts of fellow artists who have been consistent in the field and encouraged newcomers to give a fresh approach to the industry. Speaking of fresh approaches, artist Soca Psycho, who has managed over the past few years to move crowds with his catchy tunes, said he is definitely bringing a fresh sound to this year's competition.
Dipping into new fields, so we're taking a little trip back to the 80s, where we had the jam band period, where things were a little more live, It was a little more about the instruments. So that's what you would find Soca Psycho delving in for the year. Basically, that's the era I grew up in, and that's the kind of music that I'm in tune and in touch with.
He says this year he's set to release 2 songs titled A Reveler and Greasy Pole. In other news, the St. Lucia Hotel and Tourism Association has recommenced its outreach to the farming community in St. Lucia. The goal behind this is to empower local farmers to earn a decent living from their crops. Chief Executive Officer of the SLHTA, Norani Aziz, explained that the association will soon be taking a hands-on approach with farmers in order to better understand and cater to their plight.
Beginning this week and every other week, we're going to be engaging various groups of farmers around the island to get a feel for their experiences under our virtual agricultural clearinghouse and to get recommendations from them on how we can improve the offerings of the virtual agricultural clearinghouse. This clearinghouse, which is essentially a WhatsApp-based platform, has been in operation for over 3 years now. And in the first year of operation, we're advised that over $1 million worth of produce was traded between our local farmers and the hotel industry. So what we want to do, we want to build out and expand on this. Right now, the VAC offers trade in just a select group of commodities. What we want to look at is how we can expand that variety and those offerings to microgreens, mushroom production, and scarce fruits or rare fruits, also flowering plants and those types of varieties.
The VAC, he said, has matured to a stage where there is a call for it to be expanded, and the association plans to work with the farmers to figure out how to move forward with the system.
The benefits are twofold. To the farmers, it allows them to access an industry that pays more per dollar for the produce that they have available for sale. And the evidence is very clear that the industry pays higher prices for farming goods. The other is that we are able now, through our farmers, to meet a demand from our guests globally, which is for locally produced foods and items and for an experience of local cuisine. So over the past few years, we have also been very involved with our culinary talent on the island to look at how we can, quote unquote, localize our meals and ensure that they've got a very strong local flavor. So now, in collaboration with our farmers, we're now able to do these multiple things through our network of partners and stakeholders.
As he has said, there will be training provided to the farmers to allow them to reap the benefits of their work in every aspect, ranging from insurance and employee management to budgeting and entrepreneurial development. This is the Hot 719 News. Stay with us. There's more news coming up after the break.